Okay, so part of the answer to your question, I think, relates to two other questions I heard, and I think it came from the back about how can you, on the one hand, have said yesterday that this is really going to be a bad week at the same time that we're talking about the light at the end of the tunnel. It seems to be inherently contradictory, but it really isn't. And it has to do with what we explained before about the lag in when you look at the indications that Dr. Birx and the president was talking about, where you see a flattening out of cases, and you don't see the realization of what that means until 2 weeks later. So right now, we're seeing, as we all said correctly, that this is probably going to be a really bad week. That is a reflection of what happened 2.5 weeks ago. So if we start seeing now a flattening or a stabilization of cases, what you're hearing about potential light at the end of the tunnel doesn't take away from the fact that tomorrow, the next day, it's going to look really bad. So we've got to make sure we realize we're always talking about a 2.5 week lag. So I want to make sure, because I think a couple of people asked that question. It's really not incompatible with what we're saying. Now, with regard to what do we tell the American people, what we've been telling them all along, that the only tool but the best tool we have is mitigation. We know it worked in other countries, and we're seeing how it's working here. So if we really want to make sure that we don't have these kinds of rebounds that we're worried about, it's mitigation, mitigation, mitigation. That's the answer.
When new cities and new states come on the chart,
Yeah,
what's the message for people in those places that have not been the focus?
it's the same thing. It's mitigation, mitigation, mitigation. In fact, it is the famous vice president chart is that this is the minimal of what we should be doing. You know, everyone should be doing that. And everything on here, one way or the other, points to physical separation. Whether it's no crowds, whether it's 6 feet, whether it's staying away from theaters and restaurants or what have you.
And churches and places of work.
Exactly.
Doctor, are you worried at all about people becoming complacent, though? Are you worried? I mean, because a couple of days of this, I think people are about ready to go nuts staying in their house. And I'm just curious, are you worried at all that after, 7 days from now, people are going to say, look, I gave it my best shot, but I got to get out? I mean,
You know, I wouldn't say I'm worried about it because I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, from what I've seen, and I mentioned it the other day, my own experience, is that people really understand the responsibility that they have for themselves, for their family, and for the country. So this is about all of us. This isn't just about us. Because if everybody does their part, you are going to not have those kind of rebounds that we're worried about.
Dr. Fauci, how many additional asymptomatic cases do you think there are currently in the United States? There's 330,000 more confirmed cases. How many asymptomatic, given what we've learned?
You know, we don't know, and even among us, good friends that we are, we differ about that. I mean, it's somewhere between 25 and 50%. Yeah, in other words, about the people that are out there, yeah. And trust me, that is a estimate. I don't have any scientific data yet to say that. You know when we'll get the scientific data? When we get those antibody tests out there and we really know what the penetrance is. Then we can answer the questions in a scientifically sound way. Right now, we're just guessing.
And would you also
And we've made great progress with the antibody testing, fantastic progress.
And would you also weigh in on this issue of hydroxychloroquine? What do you think about this, and what is the medical
Answered that
evidence?
question?
Yeah.
Well, I'd love
Maybe
to hear from the
15,
doctor.
15 times. You don't have to ask the question.
He's your medical expert, correct?
He's answered that question 15 times.
Dr. Fauci, why are you not wearing a face mask?
What do you mean? Why am I not wearing a face mask now? Okay, there are a couple of reasons. One of them is that part of in fact, the major reason to wear a face mask is to protect you from infecting you. I had my test yesterday and it's negative.
Good.
Okay.
That's a very